All right, everyone, welcome back into another prop studio. Going to be breaking down the top prop bets for Taco Tuesday on PrizePicks. Let's go ahead and get into it. Now, I will be breaking down all the top prop bets that we were getting, but I did want to start out with some NBA and some NBA news that we are getting here with Norman Powell. So he's currently questionable. And what's interesting is when a spot like this occurs where a player is downgraded to questionable, typically Sportsbooks will just pull the lines. PrizePicks has not pulled any of the lines for the Miami Heat at all since this news has dropped. And it leads to me thinking we're getting some pretty decent edges with some of the bets that we could be on for the Miami Heat. So if Norman Powell were to sit, I would think that Andrew Wiggins would pick up a decent amount of usage, and I would expect him to be able to get his over fantasy score here of 30. On top of that, Davion Mitchell is actually one of the better bets that we're getting on the board today for his over fantasy score of 23.5. Yes, we're going to notice 2 out of 3 games has not gotten the over thus far. The Memphis game, just kind of a write-off there, guys. That game was a blowout with Miami. And then against New York, he got to 21.2. I'm okay with that still. And again, with the chance that Powell could end up sitting, I like the idea of betting his over because this number would probably increase by at least 2 if Powell were to sit. And yeah, it is worth calling out, guys, that if we look at the average sportsbook line, it's given him a line of about 26.9 for him to get the over. Now, the projection data doesn't like the over, kind of, well there. Again, that's kind of a bet on Powell being out, but also just on the board right now, it ends up being a decent bet. So I don't mind the idea of pairing those two together, Wiggins and Mitchell for their over. And if Powell ends up sitting, we're getting a pretty big edge there. But I also don't mind the idea of actually betting on Norman Powell to get his over fantasy score as well. Okay, so Norman Powell has a line of 31 here, guys, and about a 52% likelihood for him to get the over. Again, I like this. The usage has been there for him. I feel pretty solid about that. It is worth calling out that I still do like his over 3.5 rebounds, about a 52.4% chance for that over to hit. Just overall, I think the lines that we're getting on are just a bit too low. And real quickly, I do just want to call if we look at like the DraftKings DFS projections, a little different scoring. Davion Mitchell is projected to get 30 minutes, guys, in that game. A lot of this seems to be predicated on his ability to get multiple blocks and steals to outweigh, 1.5 turnovers. But he's also projected to get around 27.5 there. So like that there with Davion Mitchell. And then let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit. So we're getting AJ Mitchell for under his fantasy score of 25.5. This is another interesting one that could end up being a decent edge for us, depending on whether or not some other players are active here for OKC. So I want to just call it the projected minutes that we are getting right now. Jalen Williams currently projected for some minutes. If he ends up playing, that's pretty big for Mitchell knocking his over. Caruso is currently projected for minutes. And so that all ends up being huge, guys. There's a bunch of players that are questionable that if they play, Isaiah Joe as well, 3 players that if they all play, it's going to be tougher for AJ Mitchell to get his over. That's the thing with AJ Mitchell, though. He is someone that will shoot a bunch in this game in general. And if one of those players do end up sitting, then he's going to be more likely to get his over. So it's a little bit risk reward. But as it currently sits right now, I probably would agree with his under. Now, if we look at it, guys, because of those injuries, he has gotten the over in 3 straight games. So, we don't necessarily love that. But assuming Jalen Williams is back and all those other players are going to be back tonight, then the under makes sense. If we get news that they're active, if we get news that they're inactive, then we can adjust that bet and probably wouldn't be on it. All right, so from there, we are getting a college football prop bet that's popping up. Colin Sexton for over his fantasy score is another one that I don't mind. He is someone that points per minute wise has really been a stud for us. He should be able to get to around 30 minutes in this game. And if he ends up doing that, I do like that. He was someone that I called out as a good over bet again in yesterday's video for his over fantasy score. George for Washington is also an interesting one. He is someone that has gotten into foul trouble the last 2 games. If he stays out of foul trouble, he should be able to get this over, but that's a big question, it seems like, early on at this portion of the season. Bobby Portis, I'm not going to touch his fantasy score. He's not getting that many minutes. I probably would like the over, but because we're being told to bet the under, I'm going to stay away. Miles Bridges for over his fantasy score. I don't mind here, guys. 53.7% likelihood for this one to hit. This is almost one, though, if I'm doing Colin Sexton, I might actually also do Miles Bridges for over his fantasy score. I think that ends up being a decent route to go. Aaron Wiggins for under his fantasy score, not too much there for me as it currently sits. And then Embiid, I'm not going to touch here, guys, but I do want to see what we have him projected for minutes-wise. All right, so he is projected for 25 minutes, which in the last 2 games that he's been active, guys, he had a hard cap of 20 minutes. So if he gets those extra 5 minutes, he should be able to get the over. Okay, that would be the bet, is betting on him to get more minutes. It's as simple as that. So if he gets more minutes, he most likely will get the over. If he doesn't, then obviously it's going to be more difficult for him to get that over. So it's risk reward there. You're betting on the minutes. We haven't projected for more minutes. So all in all, close one, but I think we'd be fine with that. Then we'll continue on, guys. Zubac, don't really mind either way. Now we're starting to get a little bit too low. Again, Andrew Wiggins for over his fantasy score. That one clicks with Powell being out. So we're getting some decent edges there. It's about how you guys want to go about working it, your bet slip, that is. And then LaMelo Ball for over 5.5 rebounds. One that I do like as well. The projection data is telling us it's a good bet. Average sportsbook line is giving it about a 53% likely to hit. And then if we look at it, guys, the last 2 games, 13 and 10 rebounds. Now, the first game, only 2. So, I want a further sample size, but that's a little bit crazy, right? We're getting a guy at 5.5 rebounds that's currently averaging 8.3. So, interesting line there. And we'll continue on here, guys. Cole Anthony for under his fantasy score. And I don't like that. I actually liked his over points and assists. We'll see if that one ends up getting there. And then from there, we're starting to get a little bit too low on some of the bets that we could get to. So, guys, it is simple for the bet of the day, but also it is a little bit of a strategy day. So we have some stacking opportunities. We could do the Charlotte stacks. We could do the Miami stacks. It's really up to you guys how you want to go about attacking the slate and how much risk you want to have. Because again, if Powell plays, that's going to reduce the likelihood for Wiggins and Mitchell to get their overs. Although the data right now is accounting for Powell to be active. And so not a terrible bet there as well. Now, guys, before we get into the bet of the day, I do just want to call it the 9 to 5 membership. So if you guys want access to any of the tools that are available on the website, I was showing you guys the PrizePicks optimizer and the DraftKings NBA cheat sheet. You guys can get access to all the tools for a low monthly cost of $10 a month. Head to the pricings and plans tab. What's going to be included that is all the prop tools, all the basketball tools, all the NFL tools, and all the fantasy golf tools as well. Again, all for a low monthly cost of $10 a month, guys. Check that out. And so we go ahead and get into the bet of the day, guys. Again, lots of situational bets here, okay? This current 6-slip bet right now has us at about 0.64% edge on PrizePicks long-term wise there. And it is worth calling out, guys. We are due for a 6-for-6 slip. Been giving out a lot of 4 out of 6s lately. It's been a little bit tilting. Like yesterday, guys, Marcus Mariota had his over rush yards, but then fumbled it, which took away some of his rush yards. So he ended up at 28 instead of 28.5 for his over rush yards. That was a bit annoying. That would have only been a double up, but still, like a little bit annoying there. We had that happen in NBA in the last bet slip I give out to you guys as well. Gary Trent Jr. was cold. And then RJ Barrett got into foul trouble. But for this bet slip here, guys, again, very situational. Okay, so the Thunder have a lot of players that are currently questionable that if they all play, that makes this bet much better. If they all sit, makes this bet much worse. Same thing with Mitchell and Wiggins to me. If Norman Powell ends up playing and he's good to go, I just like Powell's overs a little bit better there. Okay, so lots of situational bets. Just be ready for that and make those adjustments. Obviously, the tools will be updated throughout the day as well to adjust for that. So just be on the lookout for that, guys. Thanks for watching. Good luck. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you guys being here. And as always, let's keep cashing.